Christmas crush. The sights and sounds of Christmas were everywhere. Lights looping around shop windows and entwined through garlands twinkled, while the shops themselves were aglow and crowded with excited shoppers, their cheeks pink, their bags full. Small collections of musicians, some with guitars or accordions, some with brass instruments, serenaded the crowds with traditional Christmas music from their positions on what seemed like every street corner, while other groups were singing carols and hymns. The scent of the season, the spicy sweet cinnamon and roasting chestnuts, was carried across the evening market by the light, cool breeze that brushed against the enormous pine tree standing in the town square, bedecked with tinsel and baubles, and bulbs of all colours imaginable. It was as festive a scene as anyone could imagine, and Frederick was not enjoying it, not any of it, even one bit. He shrugged further into his jacket and coughed with frustration as he tried to find a passage through the mass of people who all seemed to be walking in the opposite direction. Small children giggled and shouted with happiness. A particularly loud brass band began their rendition of "O Come All You Faithful," just as he passed by and, attempting to turn a corner so that he might be able to reach his bus before it left without him, he was accosted by a gaggle of women shaking their collection buckets at him, saying something about charity and the season of giving. Frederick was not a grumpy man. He was not unpleasant company. Neither was he unkind to people as he carried out his daily activities and routines. He had friends and a job he enjoyed. He had hobbies and interests and made charitable donations and sponsored a lion in Africa and a polar bear in Newfoundland and was, in all other ways, a nice and normal and perfectly reasonable person. It was just that he did not like the festive season. He considered it garish and extravagant and generally a waste of time and money. In fact, he was once heard to comment at a gathering of friends as they celebrated Christmas a few years earlier that he considered Ebenezer Scrooge to be the most misunderstood character in all of literature. Of course, this resulted in his friends henceforth referring to him as Eben as soon as all talk of Christmas began again. "Eben," his friend Joshua said the following afternoon, grinning broadly. "You're still coming to the Christmas party tonight, aren't you?" Frederick had forgotten that tonight, December 23rd, was the date upon which this year's Letterheads Office Supplies Office party had fallen, despite the non-stop discussions about it, the preparations and decorations that had been in full swing for the previous 3 weeks. It was as though they had all been discussing cricket results, or the best ways to fix a helicopter engine, or any other subject he had no interest in. Frederick replied, concentrating instead on making sure the paperwork for the large order of printers, desks and office chairs for a new branch of Needles and Things, the local embroidery company, was all in order. "Tonight," Joshua continued, "the party, at the village hall." "Oh yes," Frederick nodded, glancing up at him. "Yes, I expect so, probably." He had learned that it was easier to agree than it was to say no. He hadn't planned on attending. Each year was the same, and each year he stayed at home to watch movies on the television. "I hope so," Joshua said. "And so does Jasmine in accounts, as I'm led to believe." With that, Joshua was gone, and startled at this news, Frederick felt his face suddenly turn rather warm. Jasmine in accounts, he thought. Jasmine in accounts hopes that I'll be going to the party. He considered Jasmine a charming, amusing and rather attractive woman, probably approaching her middle age, as was he, and for the first time he could remember in several years he suddenly felt excited, optimistic, even perhaps a little bit nervous. It was a strange feeling that Frederick was not used to, and he had to admit to himself as he prepared to leave the office a few hours later, he actually rather liked it. Yes, he thought, hearing the jingle of bells from a passing car. I think I shall go the Christmas party after all. It might be fun. Having made his way through the throng, which tonight he oddly found much less intrusive than usual, he got onto his bus and thought again of the Christmas party and of Jasmine, and wondered what he could possibly wear for the event. Apparently the suggestion for all Letterheads employees was simply that they wear something Christmassy. He knew he owned no clothing that could be, even by the most fair-minded observer, remotely classed as Christmassy, and so started to think about what he ought to do. He surprised himself when he rang the bell so the bus would stop almost half a mile from his home, since it had just passed a small shop that had on display in its window a selection of colourful Christmas jumpers. Indeed, once he'd crossed the road and entered the shop, he found a great many items that were amongst the most festive examples of apparel he had ever seen, and his surprise no less diminished. He began sorting through the clothes, the multicoloured woolen jumpers with Santa Claus designs, The red and green hats with jingling bells stitched to them, the witty t-shirts emblazoned with sentiments such as naughty and nice, and ho ho ho, the latter featuring an illustration of Santa and some elves hard at work in the garden. The options seemed to go on and on, but being new to this precipitous Yuletide interest and unsure if anything he had seen would be fitting for an office party at a village hall, and, more importantly, the prospect of conversation with Jasmine in accounts, he was about to give up when he noticed, hanging near the far end of the shop, a Christmas jumper that seemed to him to be the best and most noteworthy he had ever seen. He asked the cheerful gentleman behind the counter if he would be able to try it on, and finding that it fit him perfectly, deciding that he did actually look rather nice and not at all ridiculous as he looked at himself in the changing room mirror, he bought the jumper and wished the helpful shopkeeper a very happy Christmas. Outside, a light snow started to fall, and somewhere, in a distant place where magical things begin to happen, lights sparkled and bells chimed. Frederick arrived at the village hall half an hour after the party was due to have started, hoping it would make him appear to be fashionably late. In truth, he had lost track of time after going home and trying on his new jumper again, trying to decide which pair of trousers suited it best, and then, having purchased a pack of cards and envelopes from the petrol station opposite his house, writing out 24 Christmas cards to his colleagues. It had only been a faint ring-a-ling he heard from somewhere that had reminded him of the time, and so he called for a taxi and made his preparations to leave. Upon his arrival, he loitered in the foyer for a time, looking at the darkened hall to his left, replete with flashing coloured lights and spilling loud music from its opened doors. He saw the glittering silver decorations, the Christmas wreaths and the holly and the inflatable reindeer and Santas hanging from the walls and ceiling, and, still surprising himself, thought everything looked quite jolly. A pair of revellers he only vaguely recognised from the office passed by on their way into the hall, both festooned in bright red Santa jumpers, smiling and nodding to him as they went. Well, he thought, accidentally nudging a set of decorative silver bells as he passed them, causing them to ring out, "It's now or never." He took a deep breath and made his way into the hall. The music grew louder, the flashing lights brighter, and now, as he reached the entrance, he saw 30 or 40 of his colleagues, each dressed in extravagant Christmas outfits of one kind or another, some sitting and chatting, some dancing in front of the DJ booth a few yards away. He looked around, his eyes adjusting to all the lights and colours, but could not see Jasmine anywhere. He began to fear that she wasn't coming at all, that it had all been a prank concocted by his friends, that they had decided Eben needed a Yuletide joke played upon him. As much as he'd enjoyed his time in this newly discovered Christmas world, he was beginning to feel that he might have been right all along, that Christmas was just not his kind of thing, and that he and it should just stay as far away from each other as possible. But then he heard the sound not of thumping dance music, but of sweetly chiming bells. He quickly turned, trying to find the source of the ringing, since it sounded as though it was coming from directly behind him, but there was no one and nothing anywhere close by. And then he saw Jasmine standing by the entrance to the hall and looking around nervously. Jasmine, who was currently not in accounts but who was there, in a really rather fetching Christmas party dress, looking as glamorous and wonderful as any of the stars of the movies Frederick usually stayed at home to watch when everyone else went to the office Christmas party. When their eyes met, she raised a hand in greeting and began slowly walking in his direction. They spent the rest of the evening together, talking and laughing and even dancing, which was something Frederick had certainly never previously been known for. Jasmine commented on his new jumper, telling him she thought it was very nice, and that she was surprised he was even at the hall since she had always heard he wasn't very interested in Christmas, to which he replied that he had the distinct feeling that this was a special year. When the night was over, he walked Jasmine home, a gentle snow falling and sparkling on the ground as the streetlights caught it. Not for a moment did he notice the chill in the air, since his heart had become so warmed. As they stood together by Jasmine's front door, there came the soft, calm sound of bells that filled the night with promises of love. For every Christmas following that night at the village hall, Frederick bought himself a brand new Christmas jumper, penned cards to all his friends, joined in with the celebrations each night as he walked through the town centre, and, most importantly of all, hung mistletoe over the doorway of his living room. And as the years passed, as he and Jasmine grew very old, but remained very happy together, they would laugh at how nervous they both were that night they heard bells ringing whenever they thought of one another.